Cheers. Happy fuck it Friday. Happy good fuck it Friday, in fact. This is the Carry On Up the Gesture version 2, which was meant to be a vacant gesture, but I really upped the ante with the hops on this one. There's nearly 300 grams of hops in it, which for an amber stroke pale ale is a fair bit. So she's looking very fruity. To be honest, looking at the camera and then looking at this, that's pretty much the colour. It's a golden straw colour. It got down to 1.008, so it's not like a big juice. It's not like big orange juice, big mouthfeel and all that. It's quite light. It is only just kegged, maybe an hour ago, so it's a bit green. But what do you expect from me? That's what I do. Yeah, it's a good beer, I think. It's got a big aroma. So in it is Citra, Idaho 7 and Galaxy. It's using the basic malt bill from a vacant gesture, and me Challenger for bittering to the same level as a vacant gesture, but that's when it sort of departs and goes off on its own with, pardon me, as the bittering at the 60 minutes. Then it has the Whirlpool hops, or hop stand, whatever you want to call it, 75C, with, I believe, 41 grams of Idaho 7, because that's all I had in the bag, so I thought I'd chuck it in, and 30 grams of Citra and 50 grams of Galaxy. And then I did a dry hop. This was dropped onto a USO5 yeast cake that I used to make my Kolsch, the Lost Umlaut, version 2. And so this was rushing to get done, because it was such a big yeast cake. It really was a good yeast cake. And I dry hopped, rather than giving it a couple of days, I dry hopped it after a day, so it was day 2. I dry hopped it, and I was hoping to have enough CO2 coming out for it to be safe to do so, to dry hop it without having to force carb through the bottom of my fermenter CO2 to bubble up to protect it. So it was on the cusp of stopping. It really was, because after I put the dry hop in, it kind of died away. Still sort of like a sloped, like, putting out. So I think it was done. I left it another 2 days and then put it on for diacetyl rest at 22. So I fermented it at 20, by the way. Diacetyl rest at 22 for 2 days. Then I put it on to a cold crash for 2 days. Then transferred via the fermenter to the keg straight. No, all CO2 involved in it, etc. You know, the usual palaver that you have with one of these grandfather keg conicals. I go from the top rather than using the bottom. I find it's easier to avoid getting any sediment and yeast particles. As it drains the fermenter, I can drop the dip tube, this bit on here. I can draw that down using these pipes connected to my keg, and that works for me for stopping getting too much hot particle and trub and other debris in their yeast and such. But there we are. Yes, she's a little beauty, isn't she? Yeah. So now the fermenter has been cleaned, washed out, and is now soaking in sanitizer, ready for a brew hopefully tomorrow. If I have no no escape rooms tomorrow, then I'm brewing in the morning, and I'll be brewing the Pilsner using the Nova Lager. So it is called a Nova Czech. Seeming about right. Nova Lager with a Czech Pilsner. It's basically the one out of the Bible, pretty much. The hops vary only slightly in that they're 4.4% AA rather than 4.2% as they are described in here. So the only real variation to it is that instead of 46 grams at the start of boil, I'm using 45, and for the last 10 minutes of boil and at turn off, I'm using 18 grams. But I'm not doing it at turn off. I'm doing a hop stand stroke whirlpool at 75C. I always use 75C. It's just what I like. Yeah, and that's that. And that's to come. That will be the next brew. I have started putting together the Kolsch video as a grain to glass. I'm probably going to redo the tasting footage and some little bits of footage in the tasting footage, mainly because when I did it, I'll show you this. This is when I did it, it still had a little cloudiness to it, the Kolsch, the Lost Umlauts. But since then, well, that was 2 days later, we have this. I mean, that's considering there was no finings in this whatsoever. I'm pretty impressed with that. There's no finings in the boil, no finings afterwards, certainly no gelatin or anything like that, no product flock. That's pretty good, isn't it? So I'm going to redo that bit of the footage and then put the video together. I started to put the video together. I'd done the footage, but I think I want to do it justice. The clarity on that is so much better than it was. So yeah, I'm going to redo that. So that's to come. I'm hoping to get that done for the 28-day thing. Just sitting down and editing it and such. To be honest, it's on my phone. I have to do the talk through, do the brew footage and that, and it's finding the time for that and being, it's the having a beer, sitting drinking the beer, talking about the beer, tasting the beer and such. It's finding time for these hard pieces of, how it is. You gotta do it. You take them on for the team and all that. But yeah, I've got to sit down and do that. But yeah, I'm impressed with that. I am impressed with that. Nearly 300 grams of hops in it, and for a pale ale, I feel that's a lot. I guess it's not these days. It really isn't. We're discussing. I've been discussing recently about old school brews, things like Zombie Dust and NDS. Is it NDK? Oh, NDK, Nate Dropkick. And how those beers, it felt like doing them, you're using a lot of hops to do them. And are you comfortable as a homebrew using that amount of hops? It's not a lot. I mean, considering what we're doing now, these days, with hops, we're just fucking flinging them hops in there. Sorry for the language there. Flinging the hops in. So I'm quite impressed for a pale ale to get it here like that. The taste though. Taste is slightly muddled still. But it's very green, I will be honest. Palate wise, it's not bitter. There's a bit of pininess almost in it. That touch of dank almost. A touch of dank. It's very slight piney dankness in there. And I don't know where it's coming from. Possibly the Galaxy. I think it's 2020 Galaxy, and I'm not sure whether that was a good Galaxy or not. But yeah, that's gonna. I've heard it said, and I agree fully. If the beer is good, it's good all the way through. A very good beer will taste good from the start. Other than the greenness of this, yes, I would say that that's very good beer. That will turn out to be a good beer. Needs a week. Oh well. Maybe I'll try it tomorrow and it'll be better. No, it needs maybe a week in the keg, and then it'll be good. That's about that. So, while I put that aside and move on to this, the Lost and Louts Kolsch. I drink it out of this glass. Looking at the camera, I feel like Peter Andre. Not Peter Andre. Oh my god. Not Peter Andre. Sorry, Andre the Giant. Andre, like my pint glass and my big hands. A dream. It's merely a dream. This is a good beer. This was a good beer from the very start. I could tell it was going to clear well. I mean, it's reasonably getting clear. Bit of haze, which, considering absolutely no findings whatsoever, I'm impressed with. That's a nice little bit of citrus punch there. And what can you say? It needs to be dry. That's the only thing. So I'm really excited to try this Nova Lager yeast and get a handle on how it works and how it tastes and such, with a basic simple recipe like a Czech Pilsner, and how quickly it'll do it. Because if that does what it says it will, the world is my bivalve, really, isn't it? I'm looking forward to trying it with, like a Mexican cerveza with a bang load of citron, and mate, to save me chucking lime in it. My eldest son might even drink it. His favourite drink is the Mexican cerveza types. I think that's about it. I think I've covered pretty much everything. After the Czech Pilsner, there will be the traditional Bock going in to the fermenter, because I'll be reusing that yeast cake. I'll be interested to see the difference between the dryness of the Czech Pilsner and the Bock, which would be quite malty, but the difference using the yeast. Oh, and I will want to say this. One of the things I am trialling is, because I'm not putting any salts in whatsoever, any salts, chemicals, anything, is the fact that our local water. Now, as it stands, it's been chucking it down for days and days. So the water is basically river water. We're using what is called the River Esk, and comes through the hills. So I'm imagining there's a hell of a lot of minerals coming down off the hills at the minute. So I'm wanting to do an experiment with doing this recipe now, and then I'm going to do this recipe again with the Nova Lager yeast in the summer to see how the water changes. Because in the summer, I imagine, because we've had some very dry summers of late. I mean, we've had the warnings of we did have a hose pipe ban last year, that lasted until mid-December, I believe. God knows how that happened. So I am wanting to compare how the water will taste, how the water will affect the beer now, when there's a lot of water coming through and a lot of rainfall, and we're getting a lot of minerals washed off the land and whatever else. To be honest, we're not very agricultural in these hills. They're coming from the North Yorkshire moors, which is quite peaty, but also it's sort of wild bracken and heather and forestry. There's not a lot of farming, so there's very little fertilizer, etc., going into the water supply, going into the rivers to go into the water supply, which is good, which is a bonus. And so I am quite keen to see, that comparison with the winter water and summer water, the difference between the minerality that we'll get in the winter and the minerality we'll get in the summer, and how that affects something as simple as a pilsner. Yeah. So that's to come, and I will be doing it. Save a bottle, and I'm terrible at saving. I'll be honest. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. I'm gonna say I'm gonna try, but I'm getting used to it. Not drinking beer, putting the beer aside and saving it. I'm not very good at, especially my own. If it's somebody else's, I could put it aside for months and not touch it until it's the right time. But if it's mine, I'll just neck it. Right. It's been quarter of an hour. I think that's more than enough that you want to see. So I will say thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.